Hello everyone, it's Patrick, back again with the mobile game review. Today I'm taking a look at Epic 7, a turn-based RPG with an anime aesthetic. It's free to play, and to be frank, it's pretty good, but no game is perfect. So let's dive in and review Epic 7. Epic 7 released officially on November 8th, 2018, and is produced by Smilegate Megaport and their developer, Super Creative. This anime turn-based RPG has all the makings of a solid game. The impact of attacks is heavy, the character-specific abilities all have their own cutscenes which adds flair to the combat, and depth of the stat system allows for very customized gameplay to the strengths of all the different heroes. Epic 7 is a gacha game through and through, so mechanics within the game such as stamina systems, a currency used for summoning the various units that you can put in your teams, and instance-based quests should all be expected. Completing quests in the main story rewards the players with that currency to summon more characters, and the cycle continues until the player reaches the end game. Epic 7 is a story-based game in which the protagonist, Roz, is attempting to stop an archdemon who's bent on destroying all the light of the goddess on the world of Orbis. In normal anime fashion, Roz's group continues through their adventure getting caught up in different hijinks while they're chasing after lost memories and a way to get rid of the archdemon for good. If you've ever played a turn-based RPG before, this game's not going to be a surprise to you. Even if it is your first, well, welcome! The game's pretty simple. Two opposing teams are placed on each side of the screen, and you have the ability to choose what actions your characters take during each of their turns. The turn order, who gets to attack and when, is based on each character's speed. If they're faster, they get to attack first in that round, and if they're slower, they attack more towards the end of it. When attacking enemies on your turn, you're given a couple and sometimes 3 options in the lower right-hand corner of the game. These actions and skills can be used on enemies or allies if applicable, to deal damage or heal or buff your units for a set amount of time. Each hero has an elemental affinity, which as in most systems, is indicated with green, red, and blue, earth, fire, and ice respectively, as well as light and dark, which are yellow and purple. If you attack enemies weak to your affinity, you deal more damage, and if you attack enemies that are strong to it, then you deal less. The combat mechanic itself is very straightforward, but complexity with the game is actually in the inner workings of the game. Each of the characters you can play as are called heroes, and these heroes can be equipped with different pieces of gear to augment their abilities. Some pieces of gear have different inherent effects on them, and on that same note, different, smaller hidden effects that get stronger with every 4th level that a piece of gear gains. The gear modifies character stats in a variety of ways, from increasing maximum health pool to increasing their damage by percentages or flat numbers, or even increasing defense. The hidden traits of each piece of armor changes and is random, so getting the right modifiers for a specific build may take some time and a bit of luck. Then, lastly, there's a set bonus attached with each piece of armor. Some of the set bonuses are easy to obtain, such as 2 pieces of the same set, whereas others require 4 pieces of the same set to use their abilities. Sets that require 4 pieces to achieve their bonus are normally significantly stronger than their 2 set counterparts, but the downside is there are only a total of 6 pieces a character can use in total, so knowing what statistics you want to maximize on each character is imperative. Armor and items are dropped in battles, found in chests, or crafted by using materials gained in hunts, a type of quest where you, as you may have guessed, hunt a monster that gives you crafting material for a piece of gear. Each piece of crafted armor has 4 specific set bonuses that are attached to it, and given that these bonuses are given out at random, it may take a few different rounds of crafting before you get a piece with the bonus you want. Here is my first gripe with the game: randomness. When crafting gear, you need to keep in mind random set bonuses, random main stat allocations for that piece of gear, random hidden traits that are only unlocked as you level that gear up to get the perfect piece of armor that will be outclassed by another piece as the game continues. For me, this is a big concern, even without playing competitively, just because I like the freedom to experiment with the game's systems. But I know that for others who aren't looking to be the best of the best for endgame or otherwise don't put too much weight on the stats, this might be just a minor issue. The heroes that the game has to offer are all pretty unique, and the art style that they have seems to actually bring them to life. When a character is seen in a cutscene, their character portrait has moving parts to it, which, though a minor touch, makes the game feel a bit more alive. The heroes are also voice acted for their battle scenes, and their mini cutscenes for their abilities, so that's a plus. But from the high budget gachas that are out there now, this is more of an expectation than a bonus. Each hero has their own unique abilities, as I mentioned before, and when they are enhanced with a copy of their character, their unique positioning ability will apply a bonus to all their allies. Leveling up heroes instantly heals the character and gives them immediate new stats, but as far as I know, growth only affects the back end of play, which is increasing their stats, never really unlocking any new abilities on its own. Every 10 levels, however, a character unlocks a new node on their enhancement tree, which modifies max health and damage, and in some cases will modify a skill in combat. Like I said, there's a lot to the back end of this game, and this isn't even scratching the surface of the different stats that are there. Despite how much I do enjoy the depth in the game, I feel that there's a sore lack of information about what an ability does or what a stat really pertains to. For instance, not all special abilities hit all enemies, which is fine, but some abilities hit all enemies and don't say that they hit all enemies, or on the opposite end, don't clarify how many enemies are hit by a specific effect. It places the user in a place where they're on the back foot and have to find out through trial and error. The stats as well have this issue of lack of information. Effectiveness is my biggest issue. Literally, what does that mean? Because effect resistance is your ability to hold out against debuffs, so is effectiveness the ability to apply debuffs? Is it the bonus damage against enemies that are weak to your element? I don't know. The aesthetic of the game is actually really pretty, and because of that, I'm torn between loving the user interface and absolutely hating it. Unlike with other games where the UI may be a little much at first because of how bombastic it is, Epic 7 has a very different approach. It is sleek and subtle, and honestly, it is really nice to look at. But adjusting to where things are placed in this user interface and maneuvering through the menus is a chore. With the amount of different activities that the game has, I can't think of a better way of handling menu navigation. But that doesn't mean that there isn't one. When I initially picked up the game, I was genuinely lost. I didn't know exactly what everything did, I didn't know how to arrange a team, I didn't know why I was getting these units for drops, I genuinely had no clue what was going on. As I've played more, I've learned what everything does and where everything goes, but that took time. And even in my 12th hour of play, I had barely discovered that I could batch purchase the summoning currency with the in-game materials. It wasn't until maybe 15 or 16 hours in that I found out that you could see every single unit in the game to compare stats with. When getting into any gacha game, there's always going to be units that are inherently better than others, such as the way of things. But as far as I know, most of the heroes are viable for endgame. Depending on the unit's star grade, their level caps at different benchmarks, and special units called phantasmas can be leveled up to use as fodder to break that level cap and promote them to a higher level. I personally feel that the entire level up process is a little grindy, and the way to gain more levels is obviously to play the game, but at the end of the super energy period of the game, which is the beginning, leveling slows a lot. I will admit, I probably just don't know the right strategies for leveling up, but again, if that's the case, I'm placed in a position where the knowledge isn't easily accessible to me when it should be. There are a few different game modes: the regular adventure, the labyrinth, the abyss, arena, hunts, and the spirit altar, and I think one more that I haven't had the opportunity to unlock yet. Each mode outside of the adventure has specific items that they give. For instance, the spirit altar gives gems that you can use to unlock the hero's powers, and the hunts give crafting materials. I personally think that the labyrinths are the most fun of the bonus areas, but there's this pesky morale meter that keeps making exploring an absolute pain. But in the labyrinths, you have the ability to talk with your characters, and doing this regenerates morale with a tidbit of information about their character. Some teams will gel together well, giving bonuses to morale when camping out, and others do not. As far as I know though, finding units and their dialogue that makes everybody cohesively work together is all trial and error. I think I mentioned the art already, but I really like the way it looks. I know I'm gushing, but I enjoy the backdrops. I enjoy the weight combat has. I even like the run animations that the heroes get, because I feel like thought and love was put in by the art department. The main mechanic of all gacha games, regardless of their actual genre, is the gacha system. Epic 7 is a double gacha system. The first aspect of the system focuses on the gathering of heroes, and the second focuses on the artifacts, small tokens that modify heroes in battle. Being a double gacha also means that if you're hoping for a 5-star unit, you may have the unfortunate circumstance of losing that to an item. After completing the tutorial chapter, the player is given a 30 ticket, which allows a player to summon a hand of 10 units or items, and then reshuffle that hand to get whatever they want in particular. They can do this up to 30 times, hence the 30 ticket, and it's really convenient for re-rolling things in a gacha game. It isn't the perfect solution to people re-rolling accounts until they get their perfect team right out of the gate, but it's really good since it gives the player agency to handle it themselves. It's honestly the re-roller's dream. The downside is, I think this mechanic is either a once-in-a-lifetime thing or so super rare that making the most out of this one chance that you get is important. The next thing that the gacha system gives is a daily free summon. It's a true summon as well, so you can get 5-star units out of this. If you aren't doing those unique summons, then you're either summoning on a banner or the general summon, which both cost Covenant bookmarks to do. These bookmarks are 100 Skystone for 5, which is a single summon, or 950 Skystone for 50 bookmarks, and some penguins, which is 10 summons and some EXP creatures. Though there isn't a guarantee for a higher tier unit for pulling 10 at a time, there is EXP, which is pretty nice to have for when you do get a character to put them in a competitive place. The banner summons give you a chance to summon that unique character at a higher rate, a true 1%, while only allowing you to pull that singular 5-star. If you do the general summon, you have the ability to pull from all the 5-star units, but you have a minuscule chance of pulling any of them in particular. After pulling a high number of times, over 100, then you get a guaranteed summon of a specific character. But that's a lot of summoning, and honestly will only benefit those who are dumping money into the game. I'm not super thrilled with the gacha system, but if you do decide to stick with the game for long enough, I'm positive you'll gain quite the entourage of units. My final thoughts. Ultimately, this game is a mobile gacha game and falls into all the trappings that gacha games have. Though I didn't mention them, Epic 7 has tons of currencies just floating around, and honestly, I think they should either be consolidated in some way, because if you're coming into a new game, it's already daunting enough being assaulted by things. If you're not sure what you're being assaulted by, it doesn't make the game better. The story is alright. I think that getting into it is really tough because right from the outset you're assaulted by proper nouns. But as the game goes on, the characters and their dialogue that they have with each other is genuinely enjoyable. I think it's charming, but it doesn't particularly excel in its delivery. In my opinion, the combat is actually pretty fun past the learning curve, because it's a deep system that you can manage to have a lot of fun with. It is genuinely enjoyable making certain characters that you just like the look of really good. When speaking about the combat directly, the weight that it has and the mini cutscenes that they use to break up the flow of combat feel really good. Despite all that, it's still a turn-based RPG, so you may run into some issues with the game feeling a little slow or stale at times if you're not a huge fan of that type of game. I am though, so that's my bias. Is the gacha system absolutely incredible and super generous for the mobile market? I don't think so. But the system isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I find that it sits dead center. The fact that it's re-rolling friendly is very nice, but I don't think that changes where it stands. I don't see a ton of concessions that are being made for free-to-play players. Though the game has a lot of content, the fact that it's gated off by needing to level up characters while also having low level allowances for the 3-star units, it makes the game a hard sell for me personally. As with all gacha games, I think that if you play long enough, you'll eventually get what you need out of the game, and there is a lot of content, but it'll be a slow, patient grind to get to where you want to be. I give Epic 7 a 3 out of 5. So this review was significantly longer than I expected it to be. What I originally intended to be, 10 minutes, ended up turning into 15. So thank you for sticking around if you did, and if you didn't, well, you're not listening to this anyway. If you are though, please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Anyway, this is me, Patrick, signing off.